Imagine this for a second. You push open a simple wooden door of a tiny guest house. The air is suddenly cooler. It smells a little like damp stone and wood smoke. And right in front of you, the whole valley is turning this soft golden blue. Down below, Hopper Glacier is just lying there, almost glowing on its own. That was our evening. One quiet, lazy evening above Hopper Glacier in Hopper Valley near Nagar.
And the best part is, we didn't earn it with a 12-hour trek or some heroic climb. We basically just arrived, dropped our bags, and went for what I now call the balcony walk. It feels like cheating in the best possible way.
Exactly. So in this episode of Travel Dairy, we want to take you through that one evening. No crampons, no big hike, no hardcore fitness required. Just a small village, a gentle stroll, and a glacier that feels surprisingly close. And if you're planning Hunza or Nagar, we want this to be like your little recipe for one perfect, easy evening.
So let's rewind a little. Before the quiet, there was the Jeep. Because of course there was a Jeep.
Yeah, there's always a Jeep somewhere in these stories. We came up from the main Hunza-Nagar road, that usual mix of cliffs on one side and river far below on the other. The ride up to Hopper is not very long, but it does feel like the road is slowly leaving the noise behind. Every turn gets a little quieter.
And I remember both of us looking at each other at one point, kind of silently agreeing, we're not going back tonight. You know when you're tempted to rush back to Hunza because there's more food options, more cafes, more everything?
Totally. It's very tempting to treat Hopper as just a side trip viewpoint. Quick photo, back in the car. But we had already done a few long road days, and honestly, our bodies were like, please, just one evening where we don't pack, don't drive, don't hurry. So we decided one night in Hopper. That decision is the whole reason we had this glacier evening memory.
And if you're listening and planning, that's the first little tip. If you can, give Hopper at least one night. It changes the whole feeling from quick stop to small village you actually lived in for a day, even if it's just for 15 hours.
So we reached this small guest house just above the glacier. Nothing fancy, which I actually love. Simple rooms, a dining area, and this is key, a proper open terrace where guests are clearly meant to sit and enjoy the view. You can tell immediately it's made for people to stand there, lean on the low wall, sip tea, and stare at ice.
Yeah, and that terrace is our second tip. When you're booking or when you walk in, ask gently, do you have a terrace or rooftop for guests? The important word is for guests. If they say yes and point it out, great, that's your safe spot.
Exactly. Our host actually walked us up, showed us where to sit, where the edge was, and casually mentioned, this is where people usually watch the glacier. That was very reassuring, because here's something I want to say clearly. Don't climb onto any random roof in Hopper, or anywhere really.
Yeah, I know the Instagram instinct is strong. Flat stone roof, sunset, you're like, nice, my photo. But roofs are part of people's homes. Sometimes they're not built for visitors, sometimes there are loose stones or family spaces. So our simple rule that evening was, if the host offers a place or clearly points to it as a guest area, we go. If not, we stay off.
So we drop our bags, change into slightly warmer clothes, because near a glacier, the temperature can suddenly remind you that you're not in a city. Even in late afternoon, a little wind comes down the valley and you feel it on your ears and hands.
Yeah, I added a light fleece and a cap, and I was very happy about that decision later. This is mistake number 2 people often make. They think, it's just a small walk in the village, I'll be fine in a t-shirt. Take at least one warm layer, even for a balcony walk.
We also checked 2 things before heading out. First, daylight. It was already late afternoon, sun dropping behind the peaks, so we made sure we had a solid hour of light for walking before it got dim. Second, we asked our host, if we just want an easy evening walk with glacier views, where should we go? Which lanes are fine?
And he smiled, pointed along the village and said something like, "Just follow this lane, keep going straight along the fields, don't go down towards the ice, and you'll be fine." Again, that was really important. This is a balcony-style glacier view. You're not walking down to touch the glacier tongue. That's a different day, with guides and proper gear.
Yeah, we stayed in the village zone the whole time. So we step out of the guest house, and the lane is this simple, narrow path between stone walls. A couple of apricot trees, small potato fields, the kind of everyday village life that makes you feel like you've stepped behind the scenes of all those postcard photos.
I remember the ground being almost completely flat, maybe a little uneven, but no climbing, no steep drops. If you're traveling with kids or parents who don't want to hike, this is perfect. They can just stroll, stop whenever they want, lean against a wall, and look out.
As we walk, there's this moment when the stone wall drops a bit, and suddenly, there it is, Hopper Glacier, stretching across the valley in front of us. Not a tiny thing in the distance, but this wide river of ice with cracks and blue shadows. From the highway, you see glaciers far away. From here, it feels like you're almost level with it, like your village is on a balcony above the ice.
And the noise, or rather the lack of it, the village itself had that soft evening soundtrack, a pressure cooker somewhere, someone calling a child in Burushatsky, a goat making its feelings very clear. But underneath all that, when everything went quiet for a second, there was this faint, distant crackle from the glacier, like ice shifting its weight very slowly.
It was subtle, but once you notice it, you can't unhear it. And I think that's when it really hit me. We're just walking between fields, but we're next to a living thing down there. Not a postcard, not a wallpaper, something that moves, even if we can't see it moving.
We kept following the lane, always staying on the main path the host mentioned. At one point, he had told us, "If you want a better angle, there's a stone rooftop here that we use like a terrace. You can stand there." Again, clearly invited. So when we reached that spot, we climbed up very carefully.
Yeah, the stairs were just rough stone steps built into the side. And when we came up, you could tell this rooftop was basically an extension of the house's courtyard. There were already low chairs and a couple of plastic stools, some old corn drying in a corner. Not some secret place we discovered. This was clearly a space they expected people to use.
And here's that simple rule we followed the whole time. If a rooftop looks like people are living on it, clothes drying, personal items everywhere, and no one has said, "Please come up," we stay off. If the host points and says, "You can go there," and it looks like a terrace with chairs, then okay. Ask first, walk gently, and don't treat it like a stage for loud performances.
From that rooftop, the glacier view was next level. The last light was hitting the peaks above it, turning them pink, and the ice itself was already slipping into blue-gray shadow. We leaned on the low wall, and suddenly our conversations got a little slower. You know that feeling when nature just tells you, talk less, look more.
We did talk a bit, though. Mostly about snacks, to be honest.
Yeah, we're very deep people. It was also that time of evening when the village is closing its day. A call to prayer floated across the valley, dogs barked in little bursts, then quiet again. We made sure we weren't standing in a place that felt intrusive. If we heard people gathering in the house courtyard below, or if we felt like we were too visible near someone's private corner, we would have moved or gone back down.
That's another thing, timing. For an evening walk like this, it's nice to start after the main busy time in the village, but before it gets dark. And it's always good to be aware of prayer times and not wander around right next to homes when people want privacy. A smile, a small greeting, and a little distance go a long way.
As the temperature dropped, I remember pulling my sleeves over my hands and thinking, okay, this is cold, but it's the good kind of cold. That crisp, clean air that wakes you up. And we had that classic conversation. Do we stay for the stars, or do we walk back before it's too dark on the lanes?
We chose the sensible option. We watched the light fade from the glacier, waited until a couple of brighter stars appeared, and then slowly walked back while we could still clearly see the path. No torches, no cliff drama, just a calm, slightly chilly walk home. For families, I'd say exactly that. Enjoy the twilight, but head back while the village is still softly lit.
Back at the guest house, we wrapped our hands around hot cups of tea, my nose was a little cold, and the glacier had turned into this pale shape in the darkness. But it was right there. And that's when I realized we got a true glacier experience without ever pushing our bodies, just by choosing to stay one night and using the village itself as our balcony.
So if we turn this whole evening into a simple formula for you, it goes something like this. 1. Plan at least one night in Hopper instead of rushing back to Hunza. 2. Pick or ask for a guest house with a clearly offered terrace or rooftop for guests. 3. Before your evening walk, check the daylight and ask your host which lanes are safe and easy.
4. Keep your bags light. Maybe just a small camera or phone, a warm layer, and that's it. 5. Stay on the village paths. Treat the glacier as something you watch from a distance, not something you try to walk down to on your own. And 6. Only step onto rooftops or terraces that your host clearly offers, and move quietly and respectfully around homes and during prayer times.
If you follow those, you'll have your own version of that Hopper Glacier evening. Maybe with kids chasing each other in front of you, maybe with your parents sitting on a terrace chair wrapped in shawls, maybe just you and a cup of tea listening for that faint crackle of moving ice.
And if you want this all written down so you don't forget, we've put together a tiny printable mini plan for this Hopper Glacier balcony walk. It has the guest house questions we asked, a short packing note for the evening, and those etiquette reminders about terraces and rooftops.
You can grab it on our website. Just look for the Travel Dairy episode called Stone Rooftops and Moving Ice, and you'll see the mini plan link right there. Save it on your phone or print it and fold it into your backpack.
Whether you're actually coming to Hopper soon or just traveling with us in your imagination today, thanks for walking those village lanes with us. From our little stone rooftop above Hopper Glacier to wherever you're listening right now, we're sending you a slow, quiet evening of your own. Until next time, this is Sharjeel.
And Abdullah saying travel softly, look closely, and we'll see you in the next story.